The alarm blared through the bridge of the UES Defiant as Commander Jin Ho rushed to his station. Red lights flashed across the control panels while his crew worked at their posts. They were on routine patrol near the edge of human space when the ship's computers picked up something strange. "Commander, we're getting a signal," said Hyojin from her communications station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she tried to clean up the transmission. "It's not from Earth or any of our colonies." Jin Ho frowned and walked over to look at her screen. Strange symbols and sounds filled the display. This was the first time they had received anything from outside human space. For years, Earth scientists had wondered if other intelligent life existed in the galaxy. Now they might have their answer. "Can you understand it?" Jin Ho asked. Hyojin worked for several minutes, running the signal through the ship's translation programs. Slowly, words began to appear on her screen. Her face went pale as she read them. "Commander, it's a distress call. Someone is asking for help." Jin Ho felt his heart race. First contact with aliens, and they were in trouble. He read over Hyojin's shoulder as more of the message became clear. A species called the Viridians were under attack. Their cargo ships were trapped in an asteroid field, and enemy vessels were hunting them. "How far away?" Jin Ho asked. "About 6 hours at maximum speed," Hyojin replied. "The signal is old, though. It might be too late already." Jin Ho thought quickly. His orders were clear. Avoid contact with unknown species and report back to Earth Command. But people were dying out there. He made his choice and opened a channel to the flagship. "Captain Sunwoo, this is Commander Jin Ho aboard the Defiant. We need to talk." Within minutes, Captain Sunwoo's face appeared on the main screen. He was a tough man who had served in Earth's military for 20 years. His ship, the Iron Will, led a small fleet of 12 human vessels on patrol duty. "What's the situation, Commander?" Sunwoo asked. Jin Ho explained about the distress signal. He watched as Sunwoo's expression grew serious. The captain was quiet, for a long moment thinking about what to do. "Sir, I know our orders," Jin Ho said. "But these aliens are asking for help. We can't just ignore them." Sunwoo nodded slowly. He understood the weight of the decision. This could change everything for humanity. But his conscience wouldn't let innocent people die when he could help them. "All ships, this is Captain Sunwoo," he announced over the fleet communication system. "We're changing course to respond to an alien distress call. This is not a drill. Prepare for possible combat." The human fleet began to move. 12 ships built in Earth's orbital shipyards, designed to survive the harsh conditions of space. The Iron Will was the largest, a heavy cruiser with thick armor and powerful weapons. The other ships included destroyers, frigates, and support vessels. Boram, the chief engineer aboard the flagship, ran final checks on all systems. She had helped design many of the defensive systems that protected human ships. Earth was a dangerous world, and humanity had learned to build things that could survive anything. "All ships report ready, Captain," said the communications officer. "Take us to hyperspace," Sunwoo ordered. The stars stretched into lines as the human fleet jumped to, faster than light travel. They raced through space toward the coordinates in the alien message. None of them knew what they would find when they arrived. During the journey, Hyojin continued working on the alien language. She discovered that the Viridians were traders, peaceful people who carried goods between star systems. They had no weapons and relied on speed to avoid danger. "Captain," she reported, "I'm getting more details about their attackers. They're called the Korthak Empire. From what I can understand, they're some kind of military force that conquers other species." Sunwoo studied the tactical data on his screen. The Viridians were completely outgunned. Their cargo ships had no weapons and weak defenses. The Korthak vessels were warships built for fighting. "How many enemy ships?" he asked. "At least 20, maybe more," Hyojin replied. "Sir, we might be walking into a trap." Sunwoo considered this. 12 human ships against 20 alien warships was not good odds. But he had faith in his crews and their ships. Humans had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars on Earth. They were tough, and their technology was built to last. "We'll deal with whatever we find," he said simply. As they approached the target system, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Immediately, their sensors picked up multiple contacts. The asteroid field was huge, filled with spinning rocks and debris. Among the asteroids, they could see the signs of a battle in progress. Jin-Ho studied his tactical display from the bridge of the Defiant. 6 large objects showed as Viridian cargo ships, moving slowly through the asteroids. Around them, smaller, but more numerous contacts pursued them, the Korthak warships. "My God," whispered the sensor operator. "There are so many of them." Sun Wu's voice came over the communication system, calm and steady. "All ships, battle stations, we're going in." The human fleet began to accelerate toward the asteroid field. Their ships were built to handle the dangerous conditions around Earth: solar radiation, magnetic storms, asteroid impacts. This environment was actually easier for them than open space combat would be for most species. As they got closer, they began to receive new signals. The Viridian ships had detected them and were sending desperate messages of gratitude. But the Yai, Korthak fleet had noticed them too. Ye-Jin translated the incoming Korthak transmission. Her face was grim as she reported to Jin-Ho. "Commander, they're ordering us to leave immediately. They say this is Korthak business and we should go away or be destroyed." Jin-Ho felt anger rise in his chest. These aliens thought they could threaten humans and make demands. They had no idea what they were dealing with. "Send them our response," he ordered. Ye-Jin transmitted the reply that Captain Sun Wu had approved. "Negative. You are attacking civilian vessels. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Korthak response was immediate. The alien warships began to turn toward the approaching human fleet, abandoning their pursuit of the cargo ships. Energy weapons began to charge and missile bays opened. "All ships," Captain Sun Wu announced. "They've made their choice. Show them what happens when you threaten innocence in front of humans." The space around the asteroid field erupted into chaos as 24 Korthak warships turned their weapons on the approaching human fleet. Energy beams cut through space, lighting up the darkness with deadly colors. The aliens had expected the 12 human vessels to retreat when faced with such overwhelming numbers. They were wrong. Du Hyun, the weapons specialist aboard the Iron Will, watched his targeting systems lock onto the nearest Korthak ship. He had studied the enemy vessels during their approach and noticed something interesting. The alien ships were sleek and fast, but their hulls looked thin compared to human designs. "Captain," Do Hyun reported, "their ships appear to be built for speed rather than protection. Their weapons are powerful, but their armor is weak." Sun Wu nodded as he watched the tactical display. Most species in the galaxy probably surrendered when faced with superior numbers. The Korthak had built their fleet to intimidate, rather than fight determined enemies. "All ships, this is Sun Wu," the captain announced. "Target their weapons and engines first. We want survivors to tell others what happened here." The first exchange of fire was devastating for the Korthak. Human railguns launched metal slugs at incredible speeds, punching through alien hull plating like paper. The Korthak energy weapons struck human ships but barely scratched their thick armor. Jin-Ho watched from the bridge of the Defiant as his ship's weapons tore apart a Korthak destroyer. The alien vessel had tried to ram them, but human point defense systems had shredded it before it got close. "These ships are built like toys," his tactical officer reported. "Sir, I don't think they've ever fought anyone who shoots back." The battle continued for 30 minutes, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human ships had been designed to survive in the dangerous space around Earth. Solar flares, radiation storms, and asteroid impacts were normal hazards for human crews. The Korthak weapons, designed to penetrate energy shields, were almost useless against thick metal armor. Bo-Ram monitored the fleet's damage reports from the engineering station. The human ships had taken dozens of hits, but their redundant systems kept them fighting. When one weapon was destroyed, backups came online. When hull sections were damaged, blast doors sealed the breaches. "Captain, all ships report minimal damage," she announced. "The Defiant lost 2 missile tubes and the Relentless has some armor damage, but everyone is still combat ready." The Korthak fleet was not so lucky. 18 of their ships had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 6 were trying to escape, their crews panicking as they realized they faced an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Sun Wu allowed 3 ships to retreat. The galaxy needed to know what had happened here, but he ordered his fleet to pursue the other 3 vessels and destroy them. The Korthak had to understand that attacking civilians would have consequences. As the last enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire, the human fleet turned toward the Viridian cargo vessels. The alien ships were still hiding among the asteroids, their crews afraid to move. Heejin worked to establish communication with the survivors. The Viridian language was becoming easier for her to understand, and soon she was talking directly with their captains. "Commander Jinho," she called out excitedly. "They want to thank us. They're saying no one has ever helped them before." The largest Viridian ship began to move slowly out of the asteroid field. It was massive, designed to carry huge amounts of cargo between star systems, but it had no weapons and weak engines. Jinho could see why the Korthak had thought it would be an easy target. "They're asking if we can escort them to safety," Ye-Jin continued. "Their home system is only 2 days away." Sun Wu considered the request. His fleet was far from human space, and Earth Command would be wondering where they were. But these people needed protection, and it was the right thing to do. "Tell them we'll escort them home," he decided. During the journey to Viridian space, Mi Kyung worked in the medical bay treating wounded aliens. Several Viridian crew members had been injured during the attack, and their ship's medical systems were not very advanced. The aliens were smaller than humans, with gray skin and large eyes. They seemed fragile compared to people from Earth, but they were intelligent and grateful for the help they had received. "Their physiology is interesting," Mi Kyung reported to Captain Sun Wu. "They evolved on a world with low gravity and a stable climate. They're not built for conflict or harsh conditions." Through her conversations with the Viridian patients, Mi Kyung learned about galactic civilization. There were hundreds of intelligent species spread across thousands of star systems. Most were peaceful traders or farmers who avoided conflict whenever possible. The Korthak Empire was different. They were conquerors who used military force to control weaker species. They demanded tribute and slaves from the races they defeated. Most species submitted rather than face destruction. "Captain," Mi Kyung said during her daily report, "these people have been living in fear for generations. The Korthak take whatever they want, and no one fights back." Sun Wu felt his anger growing as he learned more about the situation. Humanity had fought wars throughout its history, but they had never accepted bullies or tyrants. The idea that an entire galaxy lived under the threat of the Korthak Empire made him sick. When they reached Viridian space, the human fleet was met by a dozen more cargo ships and several small patrol vessels. Word of the rescue had spread quickly, and the entire Viridian government wanted to meet their saviors. Do-hyun analyzed the Viridian ships and confirmed what he suspected. They had no real weapons, just mining tools and construction equipment. Their military consisted of lightly armed patrol boats that couldn't hurt anything bigger than a pirate raider. "Sir," he reported to Sun Wu, "these people are completely defenseless. If the Korthak come back with a larger fleet, the Viridians won't be able to stop them." The captain knew Do-hyun was right. By attacking the Korthak forces, humanity had made enemies of a galactic empire. The aliens would want revenge, and they would probably take it out on the Viridians first. As the human fleet entered orbit around the Viridian homeworld, Ye-Jin received a priority message from the planet's government. They were inviting the humans to visit the surface as honored guests. "They want to give us medals and throw parades," she told Jinho. "Sir, I think we're heroes to these people." Jinho looked out at the green and blue planet below. It was beautiful and peaceful, very different from the harsh world where humanity had evolved. But he knew that peace was about to end. The 3 Korthak ships that had escaped would report back to their commanders. They would tell them about the humans, the species that had destroyed an entire Korthak fleet without taking serious damage. The Empire would want to know more about these new enemies. "Captain Sun Wu," Jinho called over the communication system, "I think we need to prepare for visitors. The Korthak won't let this defeat go unpunished." Sun Wu agreed. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They had shown that Earth's children were not afraid to fight, and they were very good at it. Now they would have to deal with the consequences. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy faster than the speed of light. On hundreds of worlds, alien species watched recordings of the battle with amazement and fear. No one had ever defeated a Korthak fleet so completely before. Timon, a Viridian diplomat who had been aboard one of the rescued cargo ships, sat across from Captain Sunwoo in the human flagship's conference room. The alien's large eyes showed both gratitude and worry as he explained the situation. "Captain," Timon said through the translation system, "you have done something wonderful, but also very dangerous. The Korthak Empire rules through fear. When they are defeated, they always come back with more ships." Sunwoo listened carefully as the diplomat explained galactic politics. The Viridians were part of something called the Galactic Cooperative, a loose alliance of peaceful species. They paid tribute to stronger races for protection, but that protection rarely came when they needed it most. "How many species are in this cooperative?" Sunwoo asked. "Over 200, Timon replied. "Most are like us, traders, farmers, scientists. We build things and grow food. We are not warriors." Ye Jin, the human diplomatic attaché, took notes as they learned about alien civilization. Earth had sent her with the fleet in case they made first contact, but no one had expected it to happen during a battle. "What about the Korthak?" she asked. "How large is their empire?" Taemin's expression grew dark. "They control 15 star systems directly and demand tribute from 50 more. Their military has thousands of ships and billions of soldiers. They have been expanding for over a century." The meeting was interrupted when Hyejin entered the conference room with urgent news. She had been monitoring galactic communication networks and intercepted several important messages. "Captain, the news about our battle is everywhere," she reported. "I'm picking up broadcasts from dozens of different species. They're all talking about the humans who destroyed a Korthak fleet." Sunwoo asked her to play some of the recordings. The translation software worked on most of them, revealing a galaxy in shock. Some species were celebrating, hoping that finally someone could stand up to the Korthak Empire. Others were afraid that the humans had started a war that would consume everyone. Meanwhile, on the Korthak homeworld, War Premier Geltok studied the battle recordings in his command center. He was a massive creature with thick armor plating and razor-sharp claws. His species had evolved as predators, and they had built their empire by conquering weaker races. "These humans fight like nothing we have encountered before," reported Sung Ho, the surviving Korthak commander who had escaped the battle. "Their ships are built like fortresses. Our energy weapons barely damage them." Geltok watched the recordings again, focusing on how the human ships moved. They were slower than Korthak vessels, but much tougher. Their weapons fired metal projectiles, instead of energy beams, punching through alien armor with devastating effect. "Summon the fleet commanders," Geltok ordered. "These humans have humiliated the Empire. They must be destroyed as an example to others." Back on the Viridian homeworld, the human crews were being treated as heroes. The grateful aliens had prepared a massive celebration, but Sunwoo was more interested in gathering intelligence about their new enemies. Wu Jin, the fleet's intelligence officer, had been given access to Viridian databases and was learning disturbing facts about the Korthak Empire. The aliens were not just conquerors. They were genocidal maniacs who enjoyed destroying entire species. "Captain," Wu Jin reported during a private briefing, "the Korthak have exterminated at least 12 intelligent species in the past 50 years. They don't just want to rule the galaxy. They want to eliminate anyone who might resist them." He showed Sunwoo images from Korthak-controlled worlds. Entire cities had been reduced to rubble, and the surviving populations were kept as slaves. The Empire's expansion was not about resources or territory. It was about the joy of conquest and destruction. "Sir, according to these records, the Korthak were planning to attack the Viridian homeworld next month," Wu Jin continued. "The convoy we rescued was carrying industrial equipment needed for planetary defense systems." Sunwoo felt sick as he realized the scope of what they had stumbled into. Humanity had not just rescued a few cargo ships. They had disrupted a plan to commit genocide against an entire species. The next day, representatives from dozens of cooperative species arrived at the Viridian capital. They wanted to meet the humans and learn about their capabilities. The conference room was filled with strange aliens of all shapes and sizes. Yejin did her best to represent humanity, but she was overwhelmed by the complexity of galactic politics. Every species had its own agenda and concerns about the humans. "We are grateful for your assistance," said a representative of the Altarian Federation, a species that looked like large insects. "But we fear your actions may bring Korthak attention to all of us." Other species were more hopeful. A delegate from the Crystal Gardens, beings made of living mineral, offered to share their advanced technology in exchange for human protection. "We have resources you cannot imagine," the crystal being said, its voice like wind chimes. "But we cannot fight. Our species has no concept of violence." As the meetings continued, it became clear that the galaxy was divided into two types of species: predators and prey. The Korthak and a few other empires were the hunters, while everyone else lived in fear. "Why doesn't anyone fight back?" Sun Wu asked during a break in the negotiations. Taemin explained that most species had evolved on stable, peaceful worlds. They had never developed the military technology or warrior culture needed to resist the predator races. "We build beautiful cities and create amazing art," the Viridian said sadly. "But when the Korthak come, we can only run or surrender." That evening, Sun Wu received a message from Earth Command. Admiral Park, the head of humanity's space forces, appeared on the communication screen with a stern expression. "Captain Sun Wu, you've certainly created a situation," the admiral said. "Half the government wants to recall you immediately, and the other half wants to send the entire fleet to support you." Sun Wu explained what they had learned about the Korthak Empire and the threat to innocent species across the galaxy. Admiral Park listened carefully, occasionally asking questions about alien capabilities and intentions. "Sir," Sun Wu concluded, "we can't just walk away from this. The Korthak Empire is everything we've spent centuries fighting against on Earth, bullies who use strength to oppress the weak." Admiral Park was quiet for a long moment before responding. "Captain, I'm sending you authorization to act as humanity's representative in this sector. But understand, if you start a galactic war, you'll have to finish it with what you have." As the communication ended, Sun Wu looked out at the stars surrounding the Viridian system. Somewhere out there, the Korthak Empire was preparing for war. They would come with everything they had, determined to crush the upstart humans and maintain their reign of terror. But humanity would be ready. Earth's children had survived ice ages and asteroid impacts, plagues, and wars. They had built their civilization by refusing to give up in the face of overwhelming odds. The Korthak were about to learn what happened when you threatened innocence in front of humans. Captain Sun Wu stood alone in his quarters, staring at the message from Earth Command on his personal screen. The government was divided about humanity's role in galactic politics, but they had given him permission to act as he saw fit. The weight of that responsibility was crushing. A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called out. Dongmin, the fleet's chief strategist, stepped inside with a datapad full of calculations and battle plans. The young officer had been working nonstop since they learned about the Korthak threat. "Captain, I've been analyzing our situation," Dongmin said. "The intelligence reports suggest the Korthak will attack with at least 500 ships in their first wave. Against our 12 vessels, the odds are not good." Sun Wu reviewed the tactical analysis. Even with human technological advantages, they could not win a direct confrontation against such overwhelming numbers. They needed a better plan. "What about defensive positions?" Sun Wu asked. Dong Min activated a holographic display showing the local star systems. "Sir, there's an abandoned mining station in the asteroid belt of this system. It's called Kepler Station. With modifications, we could turn it into a fortress." The station had been built by an extinct species centuries ago and was now just an empty shell floating among the rocks. But its position was perfect, surrounded by asteroids that would provide natural cover and limit the enemy's ability to attack from all directions. "How long would we have?" Sun Wu asked. "Intelligence suggests the Korthak are gathering their forces from across the Empire," Dongmin replied. "We have maybe 2 months before they arrive in overwhelming numbers." Sun Wu made his decision. "Send word to all cooperative species. Anyone who wants to help defend against the Korthak is welcome. We'll make our stand at Kepler Station." Over the next few weeks, the abandoned station became a hive of activity. Human engineers worked alongside Viridian technicians and Crystal, garden specialists, to transform the old mining platform into a military base. In-Ho, a human engineer who specialized in defensive systems, supervised the installation of railgun turrets and missile launchers. The station's original structure was solid, but it needed serious weapons to have any chance against the Korthak fleet. The good news is that this station was built to survive asteroid impacts, In-Ho reported to Sunwoo. The bad news is that we're basically trying to turn a mining platform into a battleship. Boram joined the engineering effort, bringing her expertise with human defensive technology. She designed overlapping shield generators and point defense, systems that could protect the station from missile attacks. Captain, we're also installing redundant life support and command systems, she explained during a progress briefing. Even if half the station is destroyed, the remaining sections can still function. Meanwhile, alien refugees began arriving from across the galaxy. Species that had suffered under Korthak oppression came to help however they could. Most were not warriors, but they brought valuable skills and knowledge. A group of Altarian technicians shared their advanced sensor technology, allowing the humans to detect ships at much greater distances. The Crystal Garden beings provided exotic materials that made human armor even stronger. Mi Kyung set up a medical facility that could treat dozens of different alien physiologies. She had been studying cooperative medical databases and was amazed by the diversity of life in the galaxy. Captain, did you know there are species made of living gas? She asked during one of their meetings. And others that exist as pure energy? The universe is far stranger than we ever imagined on Earth. But for all the help they received, Sunwoo knew they were still vastly outnumbered. He sent a long-range message back to Earth requesting immediate reinforcements. Admiral Park, he recorded, we're about to face the largest military force in galactic history. I need every ship you can spare, and I need them fast. The response came back a week later. Admiral Park's expression was grim as he delivered the news. Captain, I'm sending everything we have. 200 ships with the most advanced weapons Earth has ever built. But they won't reach you for at least 4 months. You'll have to hold the line until they arrive. Sunwoo shared the news with his senior officers. The room was quiet as they absorbed the reality of their situation. They would face the Korthak Empire alone for months, with only their wits and courage to protect them. Sir, said Young-Soo, captain of the destroyer Relentless, my crew wants you to know we're not going anywhere. We came out here to explore the stars, but we'll stay to defend innocent people. One by one, the other ship captains voiced their agreement. They knew the odds were terrible, but they would not abandon the refugees who had come to them for protection. As the weeks passed, Kepler Station grew into an impressive fortress. The humans had installed dozens of weapon systems and defensive barriers throughout the asteroid field. Any attacking fleet would have to fight its way through a maze of hidden guns and missile launchers. So Young, a fighter pilot from the Iron Will, led training missions that taught Viridian pilots basics, combat tactics. Most of the aliens were too fragile for the high-gravity maneuvers that human pilots used, but they were intelligent and learned quickly. Captain, So Young reported after a particularly difficult training session, the Viridians are willing but not very capable in combat situations. Their reflexes are too slow, and they can't handle the stress of battle. Sunwoo had expected this. Humans had evolved on a world where quick reflexes and stress tolerance meant the difference between life and death. Most alien species had developed in safer environments. Focus on teaching them support roles, he decided. They can operate sensors and coordinate communications while we handle the fighting. Intelligence reports continued to arrive from across the galaxy. Wu Jin analyzed every piece of information about Korthak military capabilities and tactics. Captain, they're bringing their entire war machine, he reported during a security briefing. Over 3,000 ships, including their flagship dreadnoughts. They're treating this as a full-scale conquest rather than a simple punishment raid. The reports also revealed disturbing information about Korthak battle tactics. They preferred to use overwhelming force to break enemy morale quickly. Species that surrendered immediately were enslaved, while those who resisted were exterminated completely. Sir, there won't be any quarter given in this battle, Wu Jin continued. The Korthak want to make an example of us. They plan to broadcast our defeat across the galaxy as a warning to others. Sun Wu nodded grimly. He had not expected mercy from the aliens, and he would not ask for any. Humanity had made its choice when they decided to protect the innocent. Now they would see it through to the end. As the final preparations were completed, Sun Wu gathered his officers for one last meeting. The station's command center was filled with humans and aliens working together, preparing for the battle that would determine the fate of galactic civilization. Ladies and gentlemen, Sun Wu announced, our sensors are detecting the first Korthak scout ships entering the system. The main fleet will arrive within days. He looked around at the faces of his crew, men and women who had volunteered to stand between tyranny and innocent life. They were afraid, but they were ready. We came to the stars to explore and discover, Sun Wu continued. Instead, we found a galaxy in chains. Today we begin to break those chains. Today we show the universe that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the odds. The Korthak Empire arrived like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. 500 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with fresh battle paint. War Premier Geltok commanded from his massive flagship, confident that this would be a quick victory. Hyunwoo watched from Kepler Station's command center as the enemy fleet approached. He had been placed in charge of the station's defenses while Captain Sunwoo led the mobile fleet. The asteroid field around them was filled with hidden weapons and defensive positions. Sir, they're not even trying to be careful, reported the sensor operator. They're coming straight at us in attack formation. The Korthak had studied the previous battle and decided that the humans were simply lucky. No species could be as tough as the recording suggested. They would crush this small force and restore their reputation across the galaxy. All stations, this is Hyunwoo, the station commander announced. Remember the plan. Let them get close, then hit them with everything we have. The human fleet was positioned throughout the asteroid field, hidden among the rocks and ready to attack. Young-Soo commanded the destroyer Relentless from a position near the largest asteroid, where his ship's powerful railguns had a clear field of fire. Captain Sunwoo aboard the Iron Will waited until the Korthak fleet was fully committed to their attack run. The enemy ships were spreading out to surround the station, exactly as Dongmin had predicted they would. All ships, this is Sunwoo, the captain transmitted. Execute attack pattern Alpha. Show them what humans do to bullies. The battle erupted, with devastating fury. Human railguns fired streams of metal slugs that tore through Korthak hull plating like it was paper. The alien ships had been designed to fight species with energy weapons, not kinetic projectiles moving at incredible speeds. Hyunwoo watched his tactical display as dozens of enemy ships died in the first exchange. The Korthak formation was breaking, apart as captains tried to avoid the human weapons fire. Station weapons are online, reported the weapons coordinator. Targeting the command ships. Kepler Station's main guns were massive rail cannons that could punch through battleship armor. They fired in sequence, each shot destroying or crippling a Korthak vessel. The alien fleet was taking terrible losses, but they kept coming. War Premier Geltok watched in growing horror as his forces were decimated. These humans fought like nothing he had ever encountered. Their weapons were crude but devastatingly effective, and their ships seemed almost impossible to destroy. All forces concentrate fire on the station, he ordered. Destroy their base and they will have nowhere to hide. The Korthak fleet began to focus their energy weapons on Kepler Station. Brilliant beams of destructive force struck the station's armor plating, heating the metal to glowing temperatures. But the human engineers had built well, and the station's redundant systems kept it fighting. Boram monitored the damage reports from her engineering station. The outer hull sections were taking a beating, but the internal systems were protected by multiple layers of armor and blast doors. Station integrity holding at 80%, she reported to Hyunwoo. We can take a lot more punishment before we're in real trouble. Young-Soo led his destroyer on a wild charge through the heart of the enemy formation. The Relentless was built for speed and firepower, and he used both to devastating effect. His ship's weapons destroyed 6 Korthak vessels in as many minutes. "This is relentless," he transmitted to the fleet. "These aliens don't know how to fight. A moving target. They're trying to use formation tactics against individual ship combat. The human captains took advantage of this weakness, using hit-and-run tactics that the Korthak could not counter. Their ships would appear from behind asteroids, fire devastating volleys, then disappear back into cover before the aliens could respond. But the enemy had numbers on their side. For every Korthak ship that was destroyed, 2 more took its place. The human fleet was being overwhelmed by sheer weight of numbers. Captain Sunwoo called Jinho from the Defiant. "We're running low on ammunition. At this rate, we'll be defenseless within the hour." Sunwoo knew the battle was reaching its critical point. They had hurt the Korthak badly, but not badly enough. The alien fleet still had over 300 ships, more than enough to finish off the human defenders. "All ships, fall back to the station," he ordered. "Prepare for final defensive positions." As the human fleet regrouped around Kepler Station, a new contact appeared on the sensors. Reinforcements were arriving from hyperspace, but these were not Earth ships. The new arrivals were Korthak vessels, the second wave of their attack. Wu Jin analyzed the new contacts from the intelligence station. "Sir, it's another 200 ships. They were waiting in reserve in case we had hidden forces." The situation looked hopeless. 700 Korthak warships against 12 human vessels and a modified mining station. Even human determination had limits. But Ji-Wan, a former asteroid miner who now served as the station's demolitions expert, had been preparing a final surprise. For weeks she had been placing nuclear charges throughout the asteroid field, turning the entire area into one massive booby trap. "Captain Sunwoo," she called over the communication system, "I can detonate the asteroids and take most of them with us. But we need to get our people clear first." Sunwoo looked at his tactical display one last time. The Korthak were closing in for the final assault, confident that victory was within their grasp. It was time to show them how wrong they were. "All ships emergency retreat to minimum safe distance," he ordered. "Ji-Wan, prepare to light up the sky." The human fleet pulled back from the asteroid field as fast as their engines could carry them. The Korthak, thinking they were witnessing a retreat, pressed their attack with renewed vigor. War Premier Geltok smiled as he watched the humans run. Soon his forces would capture the station and execute the survivors as an example to the galaxy. The Korthak Empire's reputation would be restored. "All ships, surround the station," he commanded. "I want prisoners for the victory celebration." As the Korthak fleet moved into the asteroid field, Ji-Wan activated the detonation sequence. Hundreds of nuclear warheads exploded simultaneously, turning the entire area into a miniature star. The explosion was visible from neighboring star systems. Over 400 Korthak ships disappeared in the nuclear fire, vaporized along with billions of tons of asteroid debris. The shockwave traveled for hours, carrying the scattered atoms of what had once been the galaxy's most feared fleet. When the light faded, only scattered Korthak survivors remained. War Premier Geltok's flagship was among them, but it was badly damaged and drifting powerless through space. Captain Sunwoo watched the destruction from the bridge of the Iron Will. They had won, but at a terrible cost. Kepler Station was gone, along with many brave defenders who had stayed behind to operate the weapons until the end. "Sir," called Hyejin from the communication station, "we're receiving a message from the Korthak flagship. They're asking to surrender." Sunwoo felt no satisfaction in victory. Too many good people had died in this battle. But they had accomplished something important. They had shown the galaxy that the Korthak could be defeated. "Tell them we accept their surrender," he said quietly, "and send a message to all surviving Korthak forces across the galaxy. The age of their empire is over." As rescue ships arrived to pick up survivors, Minho coordinated the fleet's response. He had been promoted to senior commander after several captains had died in the battle. The responsibility weighed heavily on his young shoulders. "Sir, we're receiving priority communications from Earth," he reported. "Admiral Park's reinforcement fleet will arrive in 3 months. 200 ships with the most advanced weapons humanity has ever built." Sunwoo nodded. Earth's children were coming to the stars in force. bringing with them the determination and strength that had helped humanity survive on their dangerous homeworld. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in fear for centuries watched the recordings of the battle with amazement. The humans had done the impossible. They had broken the Korthic Empire's military power and freed the galaxy from its greatest threat. But Sun Wu knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had announced itself as the galaxy's protectors, and that responsibility would last for generations. Earth's children would have to be strong enough to keep the peace and wise enough to use their power justly. As the human fleet began rescue operations, a new age began for galactic civilization. The age of fear was ending, and the age of human protection had begun.